This is World Awakenings, the fast track to enlightenment with your host, Carl Gruber. World Awakenings is a podcast dedicated to opening your mind, your heart, and your eyes to the fact that the world's population is now, more than ever, awakening to all things spiritual, metaphysical, and enlightening, and just how they play an all-important role in our daily life. So join Carl on this enlightening experience as he interviews metaphysical and spiritual experts to discuss, debate, and delve deeply into the hows and whys of this worldwide awakening.
All of us are looking for a life of meaning and significance. A life that makes a difference in the world. A life that truly matters. We believe this is found through the right people, platform, and purpose. We call this movement 3. It starts with giving people greater health through the power of our proactive wellness products. 3's innovative formulas deliver demonstrable results by maximizing bioavailability and cellular absorption, ensuring people everywhere can enjoy the nutrition they need to operate at their best. Building on our foundation of people-focused products, we provide a platform for unparalleled entrepreneurship and personal growth. 3 is there beside you every step of your journey towards building a business and a better life. Finally, we know that a sense of real purpose, the kind that moves hearts, minds, and mountains, comes through serving and elevating others. This philosophy is reflected in our caring community, which bring hope and life-saving help to people around the world. It's time to redefine what's possible and activate your full potential. It's time to live a life of purpose. It's time for 3.
Hey, whether you've simply stumbled upon this show or you're a regular viewer or listener, you've come to the right place if you're a seeker of greater understanding and the greater good of all things spiritual, metaphysical, and enlightening. This is World Awakenings, a fast track to enlightenment. I'm your host, Carl Gruber. Now, you will not be disappointed with this show, as today's guest is one who will most definitely help you to understand that there really is something better than what you see projected on the TV, your cell phone, or your computer. Now, before we meet her, please take a moment to grab your free copy of my ebook, The 3 Pillars, a simple 3-step process to manifest positive and permanent change in your life. It's a book that will help you build a rock-solid personal foundation so that you consistently live the life you love and love the life you live. Just click that link below in the show notes. All right, Ina Lanara is our guest here on episode number 137. She is a multi-dimensional energy practitioner and energy alignment coach who is able to access many areas of consciousness to help you open up to who you really are. She holds a BA in Integrative Arts, a master's degree in education. She's a Master Reiki energy practitioner, emotional freedom technique level 1 practitioner, that's also known as tapping, certified wellness and life coach, Ashtanga and Restorative Yoga Teacher, as well as being a multi-dimensional light channel. Now, 10 years ago, her awakening began that sent her life on an incredible adventure of fast integration of experiences and abilities. So welcome, Ina. I'm so glad you're here today.
Thank you, Carl. So great to be here. I appreciate you having me on.
Oh my gosh, you have so many talents. I can't wait to dive into all this. Like we were talking before we came on here, one of my previous guests, Caroline Oceana Ryan, who is an amazing guest herself, you were on her show. I saw you on there and I said, I've got to get this lady on, but I've got to find out about you. Let's just dive into this. Tell us about this awakening you had 10 years ago. What happened and how did it change your life and your mission on Earth?
Well, I'll keep it brief. I underwent a health crisis actually 10 years before that, and I was diagnosed with MS. And at the time, I knew what that meant because I had family members who had MS and I wasn't awake. But I knew there was just like kind of this gnawing at me that I could have control of that. It didn't have to control my life. So 10 years later, I went through all kinds of changes and just released a lot and had some psychic moments during that time and just kind of brushed it off. And 2012, 10 years later, I was working full time and I had 2 kids in school and everything just kind of crashed down around me. My relationship, my marriage ended, and my health was really bad. I really didn't like my job, but I didn't know it. and really that was my awakening. And so I took time off from my professional career as a teacher, and I decided that I was just going to spend all that time healing myself. And through that, I'd always been kind of into yoga, but never really practiced regularly. I started yoga teacher program. I did that for 3 years. I got into acupuncture. I got into meditation. First time I ever meditated, I literally changed my life. And so from that point on, I just really had this awakening to my own self and my own energy. And suddenly the world flipped upside down within that. So not just my personal world, but I started seeing things in the world like, why is that true? Right? Like, why do people watch TV 24/7? Like, it wasn't feeling true anymore. Nothing felt true anymore. So within my own personal awakening was like this kind of questioning of everything. And that was really interesting. So a couple years after that, I started getting into energy work and I became a Reiki master and moved out to California. And my kids were going off to college and started this journey of, I said that was my real journey of healing. And helping others to heal, that helped me as well. And yeah, I worked in a psychologist's office as a Reiki master, and that's when I started getting really open to the energies of the quantum field. So galactic beings started coming in and assisting me, and I was getting messages, and I was starting to see people crossed over. So just that was the start of it. And it's been uphill. It was like a snowball rolling. It's just all the stuff kind of came through. Yeah.
What a transformation. Holy mackerel. So galactic beings, my viewers and listeners are pretty used to that. I've had a lot of galactic beings here coming through my guests. Let me ask you this. So you had multiple sclerosis and you healed yourself of that?
I did. I have not been to a neurologist in 10 years. So I haven't been on medicine. I feel myself, I'll call it a benign state. I'll call it a remission, whatever you want to call it. But I haven't had symptoms in 10 years. I haven't had an episode in 10 years. And I contribute that to the energy work and the emotional healing within myself. I had to go really deep. And a lot of it was emotional based, and EFT too, tapping, like you had mentioned, was a big piece of that too.
Well, my understanding is, and you just kind of mentioned that most sicknesses and diseases and whatever come from pent up or deeply hidden emotional traumas and dramas and energy blockages. And so once you tapped into that, you were able to clear the way to rid yourself of MS.
Absolutely. And it wasn't easy at all. It wasn't fun, that's for sure. But I started tapping in not just to like this lifetime and traumas in this lifetime. Through the EFT, I still remember exactly where I was sitting on the floor tapping away. I started having past life recalls, so karmic recalls, and I started remembering these lifetimes, and I was like, what is this? Like, this is not, I don't remember that, but it was a past life. And that release, I believe, in tandem with this reality or this experience, was what really helped me to release that and to learn those lessons along the way.
I think that once my viewers and listeners find out you cured yourself of MS, they're going to be beating your door down. Oh my, because I mean, you know this well. Once people get a diagnosis, it's almost like the diagnosis is done deed. That's it. You're sentenced to this the rest of your life. And people being in victimhood most of the time, well, I guess this is my fate, and it's not.
Exactly. And I went through that. I mean, the first 10 years I went through that. I was like, I thought I did everything right. But there was a piece of me that actually, and I call this in the work that I do, like those shadow aspects that actually really liked being a victim, that really liked being sick, because I got attention from family members, which I really didn't get attention, but just things, things like that. And we don't like to admit that. We don't like to go there, but as soon as you do, that was when my life changed. When I realized that I didn't have to be a victim and I didn't have to hold that energy anymore, that's when things shifted.
I think that's one of the things that we're starting to see as light workers, that people are finally shedding that victimhood. And it's not easy. I mean, we're trained from birth to be a victim. Well, that's the way this 3D world is. I am curious about when you were a youngster, were you connected to multidimensional aspects of reality when you were a youngster or a young person?
My first answer is no, but I do have remembrance of certain dreams and realities that were very interesting. I was always very empathic. I was a very creative kid. I took things and I felt things very deeply. So yeah, I didn't consider myself that. That wasn't, I was more creative than anything. But it took me until, gosh, I was probably an agreement or a contract, but it was probably in my 30s when I realized that I was psychic and intuitive. Yeah.
Wow, what a and I haven't developed that myself, but this show I've been able to see and hear and learn so much about it. I mean, it's just fantastic that you could do that. I would like to find out how, and you kind of touch a little bit on this, but how did it come about that you became a channel and connected to our cosmic friends? That I find that really interesting.
Thank you. Yeah, that was totally a surprise. And like I said, I was working in a psychologist's office as a Reiki practitioner. And one day I saw this wave of energy come through. It was this beautiful blue energy. And I heard the word Pleiadians, and it was this beautiful just panel of light. And they just directed me that's the best way I can describe it, to bring this panel of light from the top of someone's head all the way down through their feet. And then to bring another panel on either side, and then another panel, 2 panels, and these panels just would cross. And that's when it started. And then shortly after that, I had a client that actually brought me a book about the Pleiadians. She said she was quite connected, and she said, I don't know why I'm supposed to give you this, but you're supposed to have this. I'm getting chills now, And yeah, that was the beginning of it. And then I'd say 4 years later, I would sit in meditation, and all of a sudden I was drawing circles. And that was something that I had been painting back in like 2005. I had done these paintings of circles, just circles and circles and circles, and didn't know why, but I couldn't stop. And all of a sudden in meditation, those circles were coming back. I had a few years off from it. And I said, okay, what is this? Tell me what this is. And that's when, as I knew it, the Galactic Federation of Light came through. That's how they identified themselves. And they said, we're bringing you information. These are portals and stargates, and these are personalized to each person. And when they look at them, they'll receive the energy that they need going forward for the ascension. And this is over a period of probably a couple months, actually. They were giving me I can't think of them now, but like terms in physics, which I was always horrible in science. Like I didn't know, but I would write it down. They told me to journal, so I would journal it. And yeah, it was things about stargates and portals and free energy. And they told me to look up Tesla and to start, really getting into these spaces. So that was my introduction. And It wasn't until I'd say a couple years ago, two years ago, where they really started making themselves known in healing sessions too. And I was helping people connect to those experiences that they had as a creator source, as a galactic, and their galactic experiences and their galactic families. And star seeds and light workers, we've had so many, we've done it all and seen it all, and we've been all different kind of races, and galactic beings. So that's been coming through a lot in the past couple of years as well. So I can help people connect to those origins a lot of times.
Now, I've seen, and heard a couple shows you've been on where you do light language. Now, I've had many guests that have done light language, and evidently it's the universal language that all these galactic beings speak to communicate with. I mean, what exactly is light language, and how does it come to you?
So as I understand it, light language is a frequency. It's a frequency, but it comes through the human as speech, right? It's multidimensional, meaning that when it comes through me, and I can't speak for other channels, but like when it comes through me, it's hard to translate it per se, because I feel like I'm getting information from all sides. So it is multifaceted, and it has a lot of healing abilities to it and frequencies to it. And it has a lot of information about alignments and activations, and there's just Akashic and all kinds of stuff. So that's how it comes through me. And I think this is what you asked me, the second half of your question, but mine's more galactic than anything. Some people channel angels, the angels or angelics, and some people channel other beings. But I know mine to be kind of amalgam of a collective of galactic beings. So that's how it comes through.
Wow, that is so cool. I've even had a couple of my guests sing in light language.
Yes.
Which is very musical and melodic. I don't mean to put you on the spot, but do your Pleiadian friends, would they have a light language, a message they would like to bring through to us right now?
Sure, I can bring through the light language. I'm not always tuned into the message, the human message, but I can bring through the frequency and see if I receive anything as it comes through. That's okay. Yeah. Right. Okay. So I'm just going to ask them, we're just going to settle in. And for everyone out there, if you want to tap into just feeling that energy, that really beautiful blue sapphire light. I'm going to call on my Pleiadian family, please, to come forth. There we go. It's a beautiful energy. I'd like you to bring through, please, any messages you might have for humanity or frequencies that you would like for the healing of humanity or the activation for ascension, please. Iputoria shaniha e klari musututoria namahe dia sonia e kia sototoria shana ahima duini me kia tatataria sornia shantatan imoha toria kia sana he torini mai tu shana ai kia tataria sonamaka. So we're really talking about pulling through the creative frequency of God's source, and being not afraid to stand in that frequency of uniqueness and exactly who we are. Star seeds and light workers, we all have something to offer in this world. Through the rise of consciousness.
Oh, wow. Thank you, Pleiadian friends. We appreciate it. Definitely a message needed to be heard by humanity.
Yeah, and again, I feel like I don't do it justice. So that's the bits and pieces that were coming through. I think it's more the frequency than anything else. But the Pleiadians I know to be really, they are kind of the star family of creation and creators and creatives. And they have a really gentle energy. So I think we can all use that right now in creating our realities, as we move forward.
Well, I find it interesting. A couple of my guests who did light language, they didn't translate like you did, and we just hear it. And what I figured was that I may not consciously understand it, but on some subconscious level, I may receive that message of light and love. Yeah.
Exactly, Carl. Yeah, exactly.
Well, another thing that I find curious about you is or interesting, I should say, you do what you call working with people's multi-dimensional reality. Can you explain exactly what occurs when you tap into another person's what you call multi-dimension reality when you're working with them? What is that?
Yes. So if you think of ourselves, if we think of this human reality right now as linear, right? So we have our past, present, and future. Expand that out where we have many, many different realities existing at the same time in that same way. So there might be a version of me here sitting talking to you right now, but there may be another version where we already knew each other and I don't know, we've done several podcasts together, or we've never met, and so it can go on and on and on and on. We have multiple realities existing at one time. That's the quantum field. Within those realities, we have experiences that we want to know ourselves as. So if we go all the way back to Creator, God, Source, and this is what I've been shown really strongly over the past couple of years, that we are that creative life force. We are that energy, and we fractal off, or we split off, because we want to know ourselves in as many ways as possible. So think about how many human beings are on the earth and how many exist. I mean, this can blow your mind, but how many beings in life can live in this infinite source creator that we all are, energy that we all are. Those are all experiences, all different realities and dimensions and timelines and whatnot. So the purpose of my work is to get in there and release those timelines, those realities, those dimensions that are harming us from being in our highest version, right? That are stopping us or blocking us from being our highest God source creator self, because we are so powerful. But we've been, like you said in the beginning, we've been programmed so deeply to believe that we have to look outside of ourselves. And this is a huge part of my work right now going forward, is to help people understand that they are the creator of their realities. And all those other realities that exist with that suffering and those loops of pain and problems and self-sabotaging, it doesn't have to be there. It doesn't have to exist. So what I do with people is I go into those realities and those dimensions, and we collapse them. And we kind of dissolve them out, as many as possible, so that they can get out of the way of the creator source that we are in this ascension process. I don't know if that's the short version of it, but I deal with ancestral lines, I deal with galactic lines, I deal with ascension timelines, I deal with shadow work and kink work, those versions that really kind of get off on the suffering, inner child trauma, anything that will affect us being in our full empowerment. I go in there and reach across and move that out.
Well, I saw on Caroline Oceana Ryan's YouTube channel when you were on. She took live callers with questions, and you are able to. I mean, a person that you can't see, or you may be 2,000 miles away, asks you a question, yet you can tap into their multi-dimensional personality, and you had these beautiful answers for people, and that's really an amazing ability, and what a beautiful gift.
Thank you. It's something that has taken a while to own and to understand, and that's just been part of that embodiment process for me. And embodied, I mean just really integrating all of my experiences across the quantum and in this lifetime, and understanding why I'm here. And one of the reasons I'm here is to be that catalyst for transformation, so that people can move into the ascension. But it took me a really long time. It took me a very long time to own that and to be okay with that, because you look at us sitting here, right? I'm sure for you too, we have these 9-to-5 jobs, and it's like, how can that person be bringing through this stuff, and your families don't really understand and your friends don't understand. So to own that and be that unique version of you it's a lot. It takes a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's really neat that you own that ability, and that is wonderful. It's such a big help to people. You mentioned a little while ago, our concept of everything here as a human in 3D reality is on a linear basis, when in truth, everything's on a vertical, just in the now moment. We may have lived 1,000 different lives, and believe me, even as much as I've studied and know, it's hard to wrap your head around. Wait, it's all my 1,000 lives are all happening right now? Yeah. Now, because there's only now.
Exactly. And those now moments really affect our energy, because we are energy, right? So energy can't help but to entangle itself. That's just what it does, right? So we're constantly moving, and we're just so complex. It's just mind blowing. And I'm still feel like I'm in a kindergarten version or preschool version, but when I get into the space and help people clear, it's a little bit easier for me to see that. But it's mind blowing for sure.
Well, and you talk about energy clearing. I mean, exactly, when you're healing, working with somebody and doing some healing work with them, it is energy healing that leads to physical, mental, and emotional healing. When you're doing, are you moving around energy within their chakra system or within their aura?
That's a great question. I am guided. Usually I'll ask, once I've kind of helping people ground in a little bit. I do ask, okay, show me where you'd like me to start. Most time I start with the chakra system. I work really heavily with that. Because it's kind of a guidepost for the energy. So it's a good place to start, where if the root chakra is blocked, that can be money issues, that could be abuse issues, there could be poverty issues in there from other lifetimes or ancestral stuff. So usually I'm guided to an energy chakra. Sometimes I will immediately see what I call leaders or attachments, and they go way out to the cosmic space. So guidance is usually like that person's team, and my team are usually pretty clear about where they want us to start and why. I don't always know why, but someone will bring an issue forth and they'll have us doing something completely different. But in the end, it turns out that had to go in order for that person to be okay with holding the energy that really needs to be addressed, if that makes sense. So yeah, I do start with the chakra systems, and sometimes the physical system too, the neural pathways, or the central nervous system, or the organs, if that's necessary.
Can people do this type of energy healing on themselves?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I do teach it in some of my groups, and I think just if you're an observant person, let's put it this way, if you're an observant person and you're an aware person and you're interested in it, there's no reason you can't learn this and kind of just take on just by watching, just by awareness and your own mindfulness. I think that this is the piece that's so exciting over the next, I don't know how many decades, whatever we want to say, because this is where people are empowered to heal themselves and not look outside, right? This is where they can take ownership for that. And because we've been taught to look outside of ourselves and put our authority in someone else's hands, like not poo-pooing doctors, they have their place, but we put it in their hands. Well, that doctor doesn't know us like we know ourselves. They don't know the sensations that we have in our body. They don't know our traumas. They don't know our experiences that have landed in our energy. They don't know our past lives or whatever other now moments or have. We do, because we have the ability to tap into that. So in that knowing, there's so much power in that to be able to really, I don't want to say control, but you have control of your life. You have the ability to move out that energy and shift realities. You can shift your reality in that way.
Now, on your website, you have a lot of recorded meditations, and I'm guessing these meditations, if people do them along with you, that can help lead them to doing their own energy healing.
Exactly. Yeah, I do have a lot. I have a lot on my website. I have a YouTube channel with tons of different clearings on there. If you just follow along and do it repetitively, you can start to kind of learn how I work and just follow along. Yeah, and try it for yourself for sure.
And you also do something I saw called quantum alchemy. What exactly is that?
Yeah, so that's just kind of a name that I coined the work. And I do some coaching pieces too. So quantum alchemy, I used to call it quantum human alchemy because as humans, we're these conscious beings of energy in a human vessel, right? So this is the merging, but that's really complex in itself because we feel the spirit, we feel our emotion, we feel our physical body, and we have so many aspects of ourselves just within those 5 or 6 bodies that have to merge as a human. And that's really unique, I think, to as I've been as told and as I understand, that's really unique to beings in the field, right? Is that we feel and we take in information in very different ways. So quantum alchemy is really just quantum beings that we are in the now moment and all those versions of us married with the human, married with this and the transformation that comes in awakening. Like you had your awakening, I had my awakening. The transformation that comes in awakening is alchemy. It really is alchemy. So, yeah.
Yeah, I guess you could say quantum. Alchemy would be almost like a metamorphosis in a way.
Exactly. And the ability to collapse those parts of you, to remove those parts of you that just don't work for you anymore. In the energy work that I do, you probably heard it when I was on with Caroline, a lot of times we use light or we use like a violet flame to alchemize that because the body doesn't know any different. The human body is unique in that it doesn't know any different from what's real and what's imagined. So if you are feeling and imagining a violet flame in all of its glory, that's doing the job. That's energetic and it doesn't know the difference. So that's your reality that you're creating. So it's fun. It's interesting.
Well, and I have fun with the word quantum too, because quantum is quite a word that applies to what light workers do. But my understanding is the word quantum, the definition is the smallest, tiniest level of measurable whatever. But in truth, quantum has morphed into infinite. And I had because I've written a couple books and I was writing about quantum, and my editor said, well, quantum just means the tiniest little sliver of what. I go, no, it's morphed, it's changed, it means way beyond everything. I love that.
Absolutely. Yeah, you make a great point too, but if you think about these small particles, those particles have to go somewhere, they come together and they create a bigger field, right? Yeah. So yeah, absolutely.
Well, one more thing too, just while we're on the topic of energy alignment. How does it work in the very first place? How does our energy system get out of alignment? I mean, is it just because of what we've been trained to understand and what we believe?
Yeah, the core components of that, I believe, are experience, which can come down to that programming, mindset, belief systems, what I call thought habits. And this is all conditioning, right? All of that kind of comes from that conditioning from the moment you're born until the moment you transition. And then you think of all those different experiences and lifetimes that come with that too. So we have a lot of things that interfere with our alignment, our energy alignment. And those are just a handful of them, but traumas especially. And trauma can be anything from a small experience that was upsetting to us, like, a lollipop was taken away and we just remember that for whatever reason, or it can be something like abuse, long-term abuse. And that really lands in the energy system, and that really sends a message to the rest of the bodies, the physical, the mental, the emotional, spiritual, the etheric, that something is not right. Something, we have to be on high alert, right? We pull into a space because we're protecting ourselves, and then that shifts our entire energy system. So that's how we get out of alignment. But because, like for light workers and starseeds, we've been on these trajectories of learning about ourselves as much as possible so we can help other people. So many of us have been through some very severe trauma and experiences, and that definitely will push us out of alignment.
And, it makes sense to me that since we know that everything is energy and your thoughts are energy. And if you have a paradigm or a judgment or a belief or whatever that is in a low vibrating dark place, it actually can lower your own overall energy and create those blockages and those stuckedness, or whatever word that would be, with the chakra system.
Exactly. And the thing is that those negative loops, which we're wired for, our human brain is wired to remember the negative, right? Because that protects us. That's a fight or flight kind of mechanism. That tends to kind of be insidious, and it takes over the energy system. So it's really important to rewire those. And this is just simple science, I guess. It's like just rewiring those thoughts by being in a practice of gratitude and being in a practice of appreciation. And every time you have a negative thought or feeling, that you flip that, because that's really, I don't want to say I don't believe it's our innate self. I think that negativity and those blockages are innate to the programming and to those forces that are not light. Let's just say that, so we have to work with that.
And that's where you step in with what you do to help people. Wow. We are talking to Ina Lanara, a beautiful energy alignment worker, among many other things, Reiki and practitioner, EFT practitioner, just doing some beautiful things in the world. I've got a question, and I guess this may be kind of deep, but with all the instant information accessible from anywhere in the world within literally milliseconds, because it is the modern zap technology, it's becoming more and more obvious that there's a growing number of people in the world that believe our world has been and is still being run by a small but powerful force, a dark force that's keeping mankind in a state of suffering and servitude. What's your feelings on this?
Yeah, that's a really good question. For a long time, I went back and forth around that. I have a couple perspectives on it. And people may not agree with me, but we'll go back I'll start with the reality piece. I really believe that our reality is a timeline. A timeline is a reality, which is simply our perception of how we see the world, right? Mm-hmm. So we may see the world as you say, these things happening within our reality, which is, I see it all the time, The trick is, do we want to believe it, own it, make it part of our reality? That reality can exist outside of our own. We can observe it and see it. But in order to have a cleaner reality of light, love, ascension, it's important, I believe, as I've been guided, to really stay in the space where, oh, that's interesting. I see that happening. And yes, it's becoming part of my reality, but I don't have to make it my reality. It doesn't have to be my reality. I do believe there are outside darker forces. I do believe that, because as creators, we want to know ourselves in all ways. And we want to know what it feels like to maybe battle those forces, or to maybe be a victim of those forces. I don't know if that's answering your question, but it gets complicated, I really believe that right now, especially now, we can observe all that, but we do not have to make it our reality. And it's super important that we don't. It's super important that we stay in our own lane, I like to say, and feel the love, the appreciation, the gratitude, and create our highest reality, because we are manifestors. That's what we do. And so if you want to manifest that, to learn something about it, you can, but for me, I'm kind of done with that. So I would like to manifest, the highest reality, which is just to be in a space where I'm serving others and helping others, and just kind of hear the noise occasionally, but not listen too closely, if that makes sense.
Well, and if you're constantly watching TV and all the crap on there or whatever, as when I became a certified law of attraction life coach, one of the first things we learned is where your attention goes, energy flows. And so the more you dwell on what you're seeing, all the murder and wars and everything on TV, you're going to manifest more. I mean, that could be on a collective consciousness level too. And, the best thing I ever did was unplug my TV. But now, I mean, we all know we're all addicted to our cell phones. Next time I'm going to leave my place in a little bit here. And I bet out of the next 20 people I see, I'm going to see 12 people walking down the street with this in their face and you know what? I may not be much different than anybody. So it's almost like you have to unplug your cell phone too, or at least not be so stuck to it, addicted to it, because now social media has replaced television. I was looking at X the other day, or Twitter, whatever they call it, and oh my God, it is the worst of the worst of the worst. I mean, I've never seen so many attacks and murders and stuff live. You watch it live on TV, and we don't have to plug into it. We don't have to put our attention there. It doesn't mean that we're sticking our heads in the sand, but you don't have to let it be, 24/7 in your brain, in your face.
Absolutely. And I agree with you, though. It's getting harder. I will say it's getting a little more difficult, harder and harder to stay away from it, So I do the same, especially for people like us we work remotely, so it's, we're part of that energy. But yeah, I think the biggest thing now is just to really, like you said, not burying your head in the sand, but just creating the life that you really want and you desire.
Absolutely, and that is the ultimate goal. I love what you do, just quickly, and we don't. This is kind of a personal question, but you had a name change recently. What led you to do that?
I did. I was guided. I've heard people who changed their name, and I was like, why would you want to change your name? But I was really guided to do that it was like 3 years ago. I have a team, my guides, and my higher self, whatever, said, you might want to think about changing your name. There's something about the resonance of your name, the vibration of your name, that is not aligned with you anymore. It's like, oh, okay. So I kind of let it go. And here and there, I was like, let me think of a name. And it didn't come. And just this past year, it came up again. And I was actually connected with somebody who works with the fire letters, the Hebrew fire letters, and finding soul names. And Sandra Beline Thomas, she's wonderful. And so she and I sat down and I just sat in meditation and received this name and got some synchronicities around it. And my original name is Sherry Bausch, and the sh at the end, at the beginning and at the end. I didn't like that. So, and it's no offense to my family or my parents or anything like that. It just felt like I really was having issues with some abundance and things like that. And as soon as I changed and found that name and started transitioning the name, things opened up. So I do believe it's frequency. And I believe language we can call it a spell or a cast or whatever, but language has a lot of meaning to it. It has a lot of frequency to it and vibration to it.
Yeah, you are absolutely right. Even all our words are at a certain frequency too. Wow, this is great. So now, of course, we're speaking to Ina Lanara. The last thing I'd like to ask you is, what's the best way people can connect with you, and what's your website?
Sure. So my website is www.Ina, so inalanara.com. And then if you for some reason come across my old name, it will redirect to that website. So
yeah. And people can connect with you on the website, do some coaching with you. I believe you have some workshops you do online too and everything.
Exactly. I have sessions, I have session packages. I am coming the first of the year, we're going to be doing a group coaching for people, stars, seeds, and light workers who really want to get out and start to embody in service. So they want to start a spiritual business, or they want to start a community group, and they want to facilitate. I'm going to be leading how to do that and how to really step into your power and step into leadership as a spiritual entrepreneur.
And you mentioned earlier you have a YouTube channel. Is there a name for that channel?
That one is also Ina Lanara, at Ina Lanara.
Definitely. And I will have all those links in the show notes here so people can just click on them and join you there. So, Ina, it's been a blast, man. You are doing some amazing, beautiful work, healing the world and bringing the light. And thank goodness, because we need it. Thank you.
Thank you, Carl. You are a pleasure, too. And I'm just so glad that you reached out to me. And thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
This has been another episode of World Awakenings, the fast track to enlightenment with host Carl Gruber, a certified Law of Attraction life coach. We welcome you to tune in to each and every episode of World Awakenings as we open your mind, your heart, and your eyes to the fact that the world's population is now, more than ever, awakening to the truth of all things spiritual, metaphysical, and enlightening, and just how much they play an all-important role in our moment-to-moment daily life. Much love and light to you, my friend, and thank you for tuning into World Awakenings.